Hey there, Solid Rock Church. Pastor Jason here, and I want to take a minute to talk about politics and the upcoming presidential election. Now, I want to start by talking about where we are as a country. I believe we've come to a place where we're seeing an extreme polarization between the different political parties and their candidates on the key issues facing America today. Issues like immigration and terrorism, gun control and the economy, even the climate and religious liberties. Now, at the same time, we're seeing a moral shift away from morals rooted in principle towards a sense of relativism. And so this makes it incredibly difficult for a Christian to know who to vote for and who to support or whether to be involved at all. The media and the politicians are telling us to vote our conscience. Well, what do you do if you find yourself in a position where you can't get behind either candidate with a clear conscience? You know, one of the things that makes it difficult to know who to vote for is that politicians, in order to make it to the top of their respected political parties, have to push an earthly agenda, which means they don't talk a lot about biblical principles or eternity or the things that God expects from a nation. You know, the Apostle Paul talks about this in Philippians 3. In verses 18 and 19, he says that there will be a lot of people in our world who walk in opposition to the cross simply because they have their eyes fixed on the things of the earth. In the very next verse, he says that Christians primarily have a citizenship in heaven. Now, while I believe the Bible calls us to be aware and to be involved in the politics of our day and time, our citizenship is primarily in heaven, which means that biblical principles should govern our decisions more than how we feel at any given moment. My encouragement to you is not to vote your conscience, but to vote according to biblical principles. So I want to share 3 things with you that I think will help you in the upcoming election. First of all, as Christians, we're called to pray for our leaders. I believe this includes our local city leaders, our state leaders, and our national leaders. I believe this also includes leaders whom you may oppose, those you don't agree with. And I believe it also includes those who are running for office. So my first encouragement for you is to pray. Pray for the candidates. If you find yourself in a situation where you've been overcritical or maybe even slanderous towards one of the candidates, spend some time asking God to forgive you of that and to free your heart so that you wouldn't have a sense of hardness against any particular candidate. Pray for their families and pray for the decisions that they'll be making as they run for office. Second of all, I want to give you 2 questions to ask. The first one is this: which candidate seems most likely to support biblical principles when it comes to moral issues or social issues like marriage or life in the womb? Now, this is going to be hard to find because candidates aren't talking about it much, so you're going to have to do some research. And so what is the candidate's voting record, or what stances have they taken in the past on these issues? A second question I would encourage you to ask is this: which candidate is more likely to support the church's mission to make disciples here in our nation and internationally? This could be found by looking at a particular candidate's stance on religious freedom or freedom of speech. You can also look at a candidate's track record to see if they've donated money or they've supported nonprofit ministries or even maybe their local church. Now, I'm not going to tell you who to vote for, but I am going to tell you that if you decide to vote as a Christian, your decision should be rooted in biblical principles because your kingdom is a kingdom of heaven. I hope this has been helpful for you. As always, continue to send your questions in to questions@srchurch.tv. Thanks for listening, and I hope you have a blessed day. Hey there, Solid Rock Church. Pastor Jason here with some practical advice for marriage. I believe marriages are a lot like gardens. You can't get